smile more, do less, do this, your tone of voice, the way this. I mean, every aspect of how we're teaching, especially if parents are available, is literally coming under critique. And that constant critique, there's all these perceived expectations, and teachers have to remind people who are not of the profession, let us do our job. We can't go and tell a doctor how to do surgery, and sometimes they don't understand our strategies, and there's so many things happening that it creates an emotional stress upon us, because who do you vent to? Where do you go? And you have to present this perceived concept of how we have to be on that phase, especially in the virtual setting. Student pressure. Our students are changing. They're learning at rapid rates. The things that interest them may not be what interests us. And we ourselves are in, it's a constant flux of development and evolution. I mean, for me, when I imagine it, it's like a stream and everything is moving so rapidly. And if we don't keep up, we will get left behind. And then there's just the natural stress of life, our juggling our lives and our work lives, and administrative elements that we need to keep up with, curriculum requirements, having our people be ready for the world. It's just life and normal stress. So these are the challenges that we have before us. So how do we navigate, and what is our presentation today about? Our point of interest is this: can a branding mindset improve the quality of teaching in general? This question I asked myself because on my opening slide, Mary mentioned that I'm a teacherpreneur. When that term was coined a couple of years ago, it started looking at teachers who are evolving. They're in the classroom, but based on the skill sets that they were developing in the classroom, one way or the other, it started taking them into the corporate world where they're still teaching, but they either provide a service in a corporate setting, or they open their own business, but they're still teaching, or they start a secondary business based upon some extra service or skill that they develop while they're teaching. So you've got like 3 different kinds of areas where teacherpreneurs can develop. And whether it's earning extra income or whether it's providing a service in your classroom, for me personally, when I moved to Honduras, I went from working in the public school system in my country to coming to another country. And I did 2 things back in Trinidad and Tobago. Just a little background. I was teaching with the government service, and I also taught privately in 2 private institutions with adults. So I had the experience of working both with middle school and high school students, as well as working with adults simultaneously. So while I was studying and working back in Trinidad and Tobago, working with adults sort of prepared me for when I came to Honduras. The idea was to do something completely different. As life would have it, I get back into teaching in the corporate setting. So teaching in the corporate setting was very different. I had to change my mindset. The question that is on the screen: what if students are viewed as clients or customers and educators as service providers? I was no longer the teacher that was going to a classroom. In a corporate setting, they are my students, but now they're clients and customers. And if they are not content with the service that I provide, they can cancel a contract. That pressure changed or created a way in that I needed to think of the sustainability of what it is I was doing. Thinking about that sustainability connected to my income meant that how do I ensure that my students want to continue working with me, and that my service continues, and that I continue to be hired? In all of that, this business mindset. Clients and customers are always right. I started reading lots of books. All the books were all about the clients and customers. Now it changes the dynamic, the power dynamics of where teachers and you share knowledge and work with students. But now if I'm coming that working with adults and I want to use this motto and I need to be able to provide the service for them, what am I offering? What sets me apart? Why would they work with me as opposed to working with someone else? These questions literally are the things that led to developing my own brand. What is branding? Now you will find articles, you will see that, and I think as we go along, new studies, new research will come up where we're investigating the impact of branding on the quality of teaching. So it's very, very, very new. I think it's we are looking at, some of us are probably very new at doing this, and we will be able to measure the impact possibly in a couple, 3 years or 4 years from now to see what sort of tendencies and trends develop.
Suzanne?
Branding is a practice. Yes?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think, I mean, our attendees are seeing a black line or block in the presentation, and they say that maybe you have something that is popping up. Maybe don't know. Maybe their faces. I mean, their pictures.
I just minimized their pictures, but there wasn't anything. I'm not sure if there was anything.
So let's ask them. Let's ask them.
Sure.
I mean, are you seeing that black block that you said before?
Harry, now it's okay.
Now it's okay.
Now it's okay.
No,
yes.
right now it's blocking the owl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you could minimize that window, it wouldn't be in the way. So anything Zoom window, it would block your slide. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay there. I minimized it.
Thank you. That's great.
Okay then. Sorry about that. So reconnecting to what it is I was saying before. What is branding? And that's why we're here this morning. Branding is basically the practice of developing a unique identity for your product, and in this case, your classroom. So it doesn't matter whether or not you're working for private clients. This is something that you may be exploring for a possible secondary income. Regardless of the point of it all, the purpose of it all, what we're looking at today is how do we represent our service? How do we identify our service? And what skills have we developed throughout our profession that can actually create that unique element for being in Mr. Martinez's class, or being in Miss Smith's class, or Mr. Johnson's class, or Miss Betty's class? What is your brand? What is that going to look like? And in this case, can that impact on the quality and the engagement that I can share with my students? Personal branding, and this is one of the experts that I used in terms of supporting, because I found that a lot of what she shares, I personally have experienced in my walk through the whole development of looking at my teaching under a microscope, and what areas can I improve, what is going on. And she says here that the act of personal branding is about reputation management. What is our reputation in our classrooms? What is our reputation in the school where we're at? And if we're working privately, what is the reputation? Do we have repeat clients? Are people asking for our services? And if that is the case, if many people are asking, is this something that could eventually be monetized? And can it become something that earns? Or are people asking for the activities that I do? Are teachers asking, perhaps you're very good at designing things and other teachers want your content? Maybe you can have an entire line of content development. And that's what we're going to be looking at as we explore your philosophy of teaching. So reputation management means consistently showing unique attributes in everything you do in person and online. The word consistent is very important, because it's in the consistency or in the management of our reputation where people trust us. The consistency is what builds trust. And that trust is that powerful connection and connectivity that we can have with our students. What can a personal brand do for you as teachers, as educators? It can help you establish authority. We all know all the woes that we have with classroom management. Build powerful relationships, engaging with our students, engaging in a powerful way with them, and add value to the people they help. When we work on the development of our teacher brand, we can actually see it go forward. When we do things like this and we participate in peer collaborations where we are sharing and supporting, and someone goes forward and they multiply the effect of what we are doing, sometimes we have no idea what's happening. But with a brand, there's a legacy. You're building a legacy, and you can actually see where it goes, how it goes, and how far it can go in impacting. And you can see the impact of that service. So let's start building your brand today. I don't know, Mary, if we have any questions so far about any of the information I've shared. No?
Yes, we have only a comment. It says
Okay.
teachers have tended to be humble and undervalue their abilities and skills, especially in promoting themselves academically, professionally, and financially. This is a useful topic. So thank you, Suzanne, for bringing this to the fore. That is Uli saying that.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for that comment, Uli. And yes, early on, I said one of the challenges is that perceived perceptions that we get from society, and they hold us up to this pedestal of humility and self-sacrifice, and it's turned into such a powerful expectation that teachers teach for free. If you can do it, you're a teacher. I had a conversation, I'd say coincidentally or experience-wise, with someone who was like, well, teachers, don't you sign an oath or something that you have to give your best? I said, I think you're confusing us with doctors. But yes, there's a very idealized sense of our profession and the expectations that people put upon us. And they truly do not recognize how many extra skills, mental resilience, and mental flexibility teachers develop in the process of preparing students for whatever challenges they're going to face. So we want to capitalize on those skills that you're developing. And if it is, now that we have the worldwide market of the worldwide web, we are talking about billions of people who are interested in learning something. And today, any one of you in our audience may have a skill or may have a knowledge that you have accumulated and you're very good at it, and you're not using it. And there is someone who either wants to learn about it, and it could possibly turn into a form of income. I am not saying that building your brand, the end of it is to have income. It is about looking at our service, improving the quality of it. And if it turns into, because you have the entrepreneurial side and you would like to build your own business, it is also something that is open. It is another open door. So this presentation is to give us different open doors, improve the quality of teaching in our classes by re-examining the quality of service that we are providing to our students. Open question, comments, quotation marks. Sorry, guys, my brain is flipping between Spanish and English. And I'm a native English speaker, but I've been in Honduras for the last 21 years. But it's open speech marks in terms of our clients. What are we offering? So what I want us to do, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and these two questions are what we're going to talk about a little bit. What am I passionate about? In order to establish your brand, your teacher brand, and we want to take like about 3 to 5 minutes on this exercise, I want you to self-reflect and evaluate yourself. What am I passionate about? We want to explore your personal teaching philosophy, because you cannot develop a brand without knowing who you are as a teacher and what you put out. Like when someone goes to, how do the students describe you? That's a great place to start. What do others say about you? So the two questions you want to examine on a personal level are this morning: what are you passionate about? And what are your core beliefs as a professional? Those two things will help you define, and you want to prepare, let's say, 3 to 5 sentences. It could probably be more. To synthesize it, we would eventually want to break it down to a sentence, a brand statement. But to begin, we can work with a small paragraph where you try to define using the SMART elements of being specific, using verbs to think about what are your core beliefs and what are you passionate about. So you need to evaluate your skills. So you can take a minute, 2 minutes to go through the skill set that you've acquired through the years of your teaching, and try to be as honest as possible about your strengths and your weaknesses. So I'll stop sharing my screen for now so we can share in the community together. And I'm going to give you a minute and a half, 2 minutes, that you can think about that. Just think about that and write structure. If you would like, I don't know if you want to share. I mean, your personal teaching philosophy can be something that you're either working on, you've thought about it already, or you're in the process of. So if you can write and add to the chat box, excellent. If you write on a notebook, excellent. And then you can share with us. So we want to define your teaching philosophy, and we're going to use 2 or 3 examples of your teaching philosophy to develop it into brand statements. And then I'll show you from that brand statement how we develop into colors, design, and we want to do that this morning. So when you leave and you go back, you can spend the rest of the night, you can spend all of tomorrow creating your virtual branding toolkit. I have a friend that measures every time I use the word toolkit and everything that I say, and they crack up. I think they want to turn it into a drinking game. There she goes, toolkit again. But I found a new way, virtual branding toolkit. You will develop, I hope I will set you on track to developing your personal branding colors. You'll experiment with what you like, what you don't like. So these are things that I hope. So I don't want to distract you too much, but please try to think of elements of your teaching philosophy. In my example, my branding statement, just to give you guys an idea, I am known for games. I play. I come from a play culture. So games and having fun has a lot to do with my personal teaching philosophy. That's me. You may have a totally different one. There's no right or wrong about this. This is about your experience, what you have lived, how you view teaching, how your colleagues view you, what people say about it, how you perceive the future of teaching. It's your personal philosophy that will become your brand. When people talk about Victor Crispin, they will talk about Mr. Crispin's philosophy. When they talk about Marsha Chan, they'll talk about Miss Chan's class, Miss Chan's culture. When they talk about Michelle Kang, they will say, oh, Miss Michelle's classes, this is her view on things. They will relate back to who you are. They'll say, oh, Mr. Uli is so funny. He has these awesome sayings or stories. Are you a storyteller? What are the qualities? Examine your patience. Are you known for your integrity? Not just your teaching. What are the other values that you bring to your classroom? Is it about confidence? What other skills? Are you an amazing planner? I have met some teachers that are like awesome organizers. Mary Allegra. Mary, I have been impressed by Mary's capacity to, she is a superpower organizer when it comes to paper. These are skill sets. Believe you me, there are people working in the corporate setting that don't have half the skill of what some teachers can do when it comes to taking content and organizing it, or setting up for a project or for a project. And no one is paying us for it, nor recognizing that we have developed strategies to teach our students how to do that. That can be a workshop for someone. So please explore a little bit. Oh, Dr. Marsha Chan is the pronunciation doctor. That's an awesome element. Marsha, do you have any colors or anything to go with that? Have you built up on that element of the pronunciation doctor concept? Marsha, are you with us?
Yeah, she is. Okay, you can use your mic, Marsha. And those who would like
Hello.
to, okay, she's here.
Hi,
Hi there. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Have you built
Good.
anything online using the pronunciation doctor?
Oh yeah, I have over 2,000 free videos on my Pronunciation Doctor YouTube channel. And lately I've been doing a lot of teacher training through Katisal, our organization.
Okay, so do you
our
have a
affiliate.
logo?
Mhm.
What's your logo?
If you look at youtube.com/pronunciation doctor, you'll see my banner
Okay,
and
all right.
my doctor outfit.
So then can you share with us your philosophy? I guess since you already have your logo, perhaps for those who don't have theirs already developed, can you share a little bit about your brand statement? What the pronunciation doctor is about?
All right. Well, a lot of people know that I'm really passionate about learning pronunciation, teaching pronunciation. I'm very interested in a lot of different kinds of languages and learning to pronounce them, whether or not I understand what you're saying or not. So then people gave me this moniker and I thought, well, it kind of really fits. So there are times that my husband, who's a native speaker of Chinese, and I am not, that he will say, oh, that I even do this in the Chinese language, that I hear different, well, there are many different dialects and accents in Chinese, and he'll tell me that I can hear them and make adjustments, and we make you know, there is something in Chinese that is the so-called standard Chinese. And so we sometimes laugh at his family members who are not necessarily speakers of the standard variety. And he said, even I can correct them and give advice on how to make their Chinese pronunciation more toward the standard. But I can hear different accents and often analyze how that sounds and what you can do differently to make your voice a little bit different depending on how you want to sound. So, you know, if you have a good ear, you can hear different intonation, but not everybody can hear that. So it's something that I'm able to do, and I do a lot of things very physically, which is I can do this within the classroom as well as online, which is something that is very interesting because in the past, when I proposed at my college to do online teaching, a lot of, let's say, naysayers said, this is not possible. How can you do that online? And now look at everybody. Everybody's doing it online.
Okay, but with all of this experience,
Yes.
and have you synthesized, like if you were to describe the pronunciation doctor in one sentence, a brand statement that encapsulates what you do, have you synthesized it into a simple statement like you could put on a t-shirt?
Pronunciation
doctor.
is a physical act.
Nice. Okay. And I can say, well, okay, my mind depending, since we're all adults here. Excuse me, guys. Hey, I'll talk to you one second. Yes, yes, yes. Sorry about that. Teachers, moms, multitasking, all at the same time. Definitely, you know, pronunciation doctor, it's a physical act. It can be funny, it can be interesting, it can be dynamic, you can follow through. You also have to think about the impact of the words and how others will interpret that message as well. So if you're up for all the jokes that can come with it and all the things and the diversity of how interpretation and language can be, sure, you run with it if you're able to handle that. So it's very interesting. Can you imagine pronunciation? It's a physical act. On caps, on your coffee mug, you have your coffee mug. If you imagine branding, taking it further in terms of the paper, that's the whole idea behind it, taking the pronunciation doctor's culture and having it explode, having it go further. And that's kind of like what we want everyone to do today. I saw someone added to the chat box. They put the philosophy, I think it's Azra. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, Azra. It says, my philosophy is that make the changes happen in learning, letting students choices and voices. So from what I get from it, you believe in changes and in change and having students make choices and using their voices. These are like three elements. You are an advocate for change, and you believe in helping students make choices and letting them use their voice. So there's sound, there's the science of choice, and there's how we help them do that. So polishing on these elements would be to help define, to create a sentence from that, to determine the things that you want to go forward with. To share my statement in my classroom is bringing happiness to classrooms around the world. And I got that from a book that I was reading from the late Tony Hsieh, who was the CEO of Zappos.com. It breaks my heart that the young man died, very innovative. He wrote a book called Delivering Happiness. He talked about wow service. And when I thought about what I wanted to offer in my classrooms, my students would use wow. That was the adjective that was used a lot of times by surprising them. And he talked about the wow factor, they talked about the wow factor in delivery and in customer service. And I wanted to bring the wow factor to my teaching. So how would I do that? And I thought it was all about seeing your customer, your service experience happiness and joy. And how can you do that through teaching? So I use games. Games is one of the tools that I use. And that is where bringing happiness to classrooms around the world. And then you can see elements behind me on the screen are elements of part of the game, one of the games that I created. And it's how it's out there. It's how we start a conversation about what it is we're doing. I'm not selling anything. It's just as part of who I am. If I'm going to be playing something, if I'm going to talk about something, the game lets me. So bringing happiness to classrooms around the world, it's not only about the games, but it's how many ways. Maybe it's a shoulder, it's talking to a student, it's being there for them, it's engaging with them. But that's what my philosophy is, and that is what my brand statement is about. My company is CBC, Corporate Bilingual Consultancy. I work in the corporate setting, and I do any number of things in bilingual elements with whatever they need. I am super flexible in that sense. And whether it's teaching, editing, translating, or coaching, I evolved into a language coach. I started out as a teacher, and I have become a language coach. And I believe in gaming as an element of advocacy and dual immersion, using several languages. All those things come together, and it boils down into a statement, bringing happiness to classrooms around the world. It is a goal, it is a vision, and it is a mission, all in my statement. So I don't pretend that today you're going to be able to resolve this and create your brand statement, but I do want to ignite the fire. I would love to ignite the fire in your hearts that, What is my philosophy? And how can I improve this statement over and over? Write several versions of it. Write several versions and think about what would it look like on a coffee mug? What would it look like on a hat? What would it look like on a t-shirt? You're opening to classes, you're sitting down, and maybe kindness is your motto. And we're kind in Miss Chan's class. Everyone, who's Miss Chan? Maybe you tie your name is your brand. Your students refer to you by your brand. Maybe you are Miss Paulina's class, and the students refer to you by Miss Paulina, or they refer to you with your smile. What is it that you are recognized for in the community of teaching, be it your students, your peers, even your family? You can do a little survey, ask everyone, and then sit down, because a lot of what came out of my brand building came from what my students said. It came from my students describing what we were doing. And then they would ask, do you have this? And I'm like, well, took a lot of time to develop. So let's go back, have fun while learning, learn while having fun. Louise, very nice. Simple. Now, we're going to talk about this and when I go back to sharing my screen. If we're going to have something like have fun while learning, learn while having fun, we have to back it up. This is where service and brand become connected. If we're going to use a statement like that, we got to make sure in our lesson planning, fun things are there. And we have to ensure that the learning is taking place. So it's not just about having a fancy brand and going out there. It's because it's our teaching philosophy. And if fun is part of it, what are the fun activities, go-to activities I'm using? And how am I ensuring that learning is taking place? Because it needs to be measurable. Because it's not just about doing fancy things, putting on a t-shirt and having that's the fun part. That's the extra for me. It's about how am I delivering on that brand? Because if you cannot deliver on have fun while learning and learn while having fun, it won't work. They won't believe you and it'll fall flat. So in the case of our pronunciation doctor, she backs it up to the point where they said, hey, you can teach someone pronunciation even in a language that she doesn't use, because her expertise speaks for itself. So Mary, can you help me with time? How are we on?
Yes, I was about to interrupt you. We've been here, your presentation so far is like 35 minutes. So we have like 10 more minutes or 15 maybe, the maximum.
Okay. All right. So we've had the examples and a couple more questions that you can use to help develop your philosophy of teaching. What do you hold most dear as a teacher? What truths guide you how to interact with your students? What was your best experience as a student and as a teacher? All these things come together. What is your biggest hope for your students? There must always be sort of a vision that you're moving towards, something that you're looking to go towards. And what do you think works in teaching and what doesn't work? All those things you can come together and develop your brand. These are different examples. My own is in green, bringing happiness to classrooms around the world. And you have two other examples that were shared by Marietta Gentles Crawford. You can go to her website. There's a lot of information to help you dig deeper and develop your own. An innovative work environment encourages employees to deliver their best and grow professionally. That's a simple statement. Innovative, that means this person will be committed to trying new things and encourages employees to deliver their best. If you're an administrator in a school, I have had many teachers talk about feeling this gap between administration and their teaching, that they don't feel understood and they don't understand, they don't feel like they have the liberty to share. So maybe an innovative administrator can reconsider their brand as a leader. What is their brand as a leader within the community of teaching? And then there's another. Students should be free to learn in a creative environment that best supports their needs. We're looking at the freedom to choose, learning, and this teacher is a person who's concerned about the environment that best supports their needs. And it means that they're looking at the diversity of their learner. They're looking at all the things that their learners may have. So here we have an example of my virtual classroom. This is one of the elements that I use. And I was hoping that in our class today, we would get an opportunity to develop or look at some of these elements. If you would like to learn how to do these step by step, if you have experience doing it, I want you to tell me what elements or what do you think about my personality based on the elements that you see in this room, in my virtual classroom. And this is my Christmas setting. So this is another element. Now, I am able to put these together because I know my colors, I have my logo, I have elements that I've been working with, I have my virtual toolkit. If you are now starting out, you would be experimenting until you define your look, until you define what you want to do. So we come back to our original question. The business mindset. If we think of our students as clients or customers, and we as educators, we become service providers, then what are we offering? And are we offering a service that is being compensated adequately? And are we honest enough to recognize when we are under providing our service? Teachers get burnt out. We all know someone who's not giving, not performing, not giving their best. They are demotivated, they are depressed, they have stuff going on in their life, and they're not being there. How do we demand something if we recognize that we are underperforming? But the best part of being in that place is that we can start anew. And we can renew our vision for our service. We can renew our skills. We can renew the things that we are doing. And we can define your identity, define your purpose, create your personal branding message. What is the message you want to send out into the world? We are on the World Wide Web. Billions of people interact on the World Wide Web. What is our personal branding message as an educator? However you came to this profession, you must have a message in you. What is that message? Choose your colors. Choose your colors so that everyone who knows you, they'll know your colors. Even if you wear a pin, or you have a scarf, or you have something on your desk, or your favorite mug in your colors, create a logo, something simple that is easy to replicate, easy to draw, even hold a competition. Hey guys, I want to create my own logo. What do you think would be a great logo for me? And you can create a competition and choose the best one among your students. Involve your students in your logo producing process. You share your philosophy with them and said, but I need a logo for this. And maybe you may have young graphic designers among you. It's a possibility that you can stir in them their creativity by asking them to participate in the process of helping you create a logo. Choose a medium for consistently sharing your unique skills. Your unique skills would be, are you going to use a blog? Are you going to use Dr. Chan, the pronunciation, Dr. Marsha uses YouTube. If you want to use YouTube to share your workshops, etc. Are you going to use Facebook? Are you going to use TikTok? Are you going to use Twitter? What are you going to use and how are you going to represent your skills? And create content. Once you have defined these things, you must have a lot of content. Now you can start putting your content together and choose the platform where you want to build your brand. Once you've defined those elements, you put your brand to work. When your actions and your expectations don't match your words, as I mentioned before, then it will fall flat. Branding takes time and requires being consistent. If we're consistent with fun, make sure that every class has an element of fun. If we're consistent with creativity, make sure there's something to stir creativity. So when they walk away, they're walking away with that wow factor every single time. And they know that you will deliver on the promises that you make to them. It builds integrity and it builds trust, and they will come back. They will remember you forever. Share your brand widely. Set up your web page, use it in school, create your own stationery. We can do it virtually. We don't have to cut down trees. You can have your little logo in all things. You can sign your exam papers with them. You can build it into your Google Forms, all these different ways, because we are the call community. If we're in the call community, this is the place. This is another of a setting where when I have in a corporate setting, I will be in the middle of this. It's Christmas time. There are elements of who I am, elements of my family. There are elements of things that are important to me. This is what another setting looks like for another activity that I'm engaged in. And something else that I do that I manage with radio. So there are no limits. There are no limits to what you can do once you define your teacher brand. And I don't know if we have the time, if the audience would like to be able to look at how you can do this all using Google Slides. Mary? If there are questions, and if they would like to put together one room or do the activity, I'm completely open to it.
Yes, I already asked the attendees to write or to start thinking on the questions. For you, let's see, we're gonna wait. I mean, there are some comments in here. For example, Azra, he says, a new era, new reflection, new vision, new mission. And who else? Luis Vidal says, have fun while learning, learn while having fun. Oh, I mean, that's his philosophy that you read before. Okay, we invite all of you to write your questions here in the chat, so we can read them, and we can share your comments or your thoughts about, you know, developing and designing your teacher brand to engage students. Do you have your own brand already?
Step 4, 1 second.
There is a question here already.
Yeah, for step 4, for slide 4.
Yes.
Step 2, step 3. Yes, sharing the brand widely. Use it on, if you have your own web page. Some teachers become Miss T's class.com. I mean, you know, kids call us different names. There's a teacher that we do a screen friending virtual event, and he's a music teacher, and in his community they use the term pot cover, so they call him Mr. Pot Cover. So that in itself, because of he's always trying dynamic different things, and you put that together, and everyone starts calling him the pot cover man. But that's his music class, you know. He can make music with pot covers. You know, it speaks volumes for his personality and elements. Use on running head-on as assignments, like I said, you know, as handouts, rubrics. You put it there, and you can even have quotes. You know, you can share quotes about you can share quotes with your little elements, with your colors. There's so many different things that it blends into your lesson planning. At first, it might seem like a little extra work, but once you get those colors and you have everything, when you're going to design, it becomes easier. You then own your.
There is another question. There is a question, and also Jose Ander Perez says, please also share step 1 and 2.
Okay, then. Will we be making this presentation available for the presenters, because they will have access to it on YouTube, right?
Yeah, I mean, this presentation will be in the you know, channel, the Piso Colayes channel. So I can leave the link to the channel in a few.
I just want to
seconds.
show what it would look like if I change this base behind me. I'm just going to change my configuration just so you can see what it looks like. And to get in 1 second. So Merry Christmas, everyone. Welcome to my Christmas classroom. This is what one would look like. You want to change the lighting to it. You can change the backgrounds. I used a dark wall in this one because I wanted a cozy feel. I wanted it to have a cozy feel. I don't know. How do you feel looking at it? Does it, is there any impact? Thank you, Azra. These are some of the things. Of the community that we're here, is everyone comfortable using Google Slides to do stuff like what's behind me? Many of the elements that are used, I tend to, you look for them with the terminology transparent, so you can find them and you can actually fit them so that you don't have to be eliminating backgrounds and stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff that you can find that's free online. And then also you can take pictures. I love photography, so I also do take a lot of pictures myself. So you can also have a database of photos and places that you visit, etc. Do you love to travel? Do you share stories with your students of places that you go to and that you visit? These are different ways that you can use and build your brand to inspire kids to travel. Maybe you love to cook. You have cooking pictures and you set up your classroom like a kitchen. Welcome to Miss Porlina's classroom kitchen. And you're doing all kinds of awesome things. You know, there's no limit to your imagination with this. And if you would love to do a hands-on session of putting together your backgrounds and stuff like that, please share with, in the chat, share with Mary and they, and I would be more than willing to help with another session where we build. Literally, we come back with your statements and your colors, and we're building together different designs. So
Okay,
thank you very much.
There's a question over here. I think you didn't see it. It says, do you then own a brand? Should you license it with Creative Commons?
It's yours. What happens is that when it comes to everything with licensing and stuff like that, it becomes very expensive. So most teachers, we don't generally have the budget for that. So you can add TM on your element. Yes, you can use the Creative Commons as well. And if you can't afford to do it, you can add TM it at least, and you can put at least, you know, you cover it until you can get it done and pay for it. Because yes, it is your brand, you are making, and you do need to investigate and make sure that there isn't anything else out there with the same language that you're using, because you don't want to get in any trouble with infringement on anyone else's. So like, for example, my CBC, which is Corporate Bilingual Consultancy, I use two techniques when I define my name. One, I wanted the word corporate into it because I was working with in-company clients. Two, I also wanted something that if anyone was pulling CBC, because there are lots of things, Canadian Broadcasting Communication, there are lots of different elements, I get pulled into that traffic too. So it isn't, it's also smart in that it's different because the words are different. But if I also in my documents, I can use CBC as the abbreviation. It also gets pulled into whatever traffic of anything that's CBC. So people will get to see it, whether they click on it or not, but it's out there. So that's also another thing to take into consideration, how you can use wording and naming as a strategy.
There's here another question for you. Where do you get 3D space background? Jane Chian asks.
Okay, I'll share my screen and show you very quickly how you can do that. Same space, Google Slides, very, 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 very easy. So I will exit here. Okay, so everyone can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if we have a new slide. insert, image, search the web, transparent wall, and with 3D, maybe if you want. Let's see what comes up. So you've got different things.
Yes. Beautiful.
Insert. And now I have a wall space. If I want to take one of the things that I used in one of my others, let's see, I'll just do that because I have it here. I copy my ocean view. Where did I put the wall? And you can paste. Or I can cover here, it'd be easier here. Well, you get the idea behind it. You can work with, so you can create, doing it very quickly, but I mean, you'd have to work on the details of it, but that's how it is. You know, you can very simply use different elements of going to search and different things come up that you can use to change and modify your backgrounds, have a personal touch to it, and keep it
Okay.
as interesting as possible.
There are some comments and questions as well. Deyanira says, for example, I think that it would be fun to create backgrounds based on the theme of a class to use in an online lesson. For example, if the topic for the lesson is holidays, create a background based on that so as to activate schemata and engage learners. Thank you for that comment, Deyanira. Very interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
And Mubarak says, respected Suzanne, thanks for your invaluable insights and extending my sincere thanks for to organizers for this opportunity. My question is, what do you in your life outside work that is most inspiring? And the other, what do you keep learning and growing as a person? Regards, Mubarak.
Okay. For learning and growing,
Maybe your master's.
yes, constant learning and growing, reading. I tell my students that they know that it's all about reading. I read everything, anything, because sometimes you don't get an opportunity to go back into formal studies. I was able to with the world going into shutdown, so I'm grateful for that opportunity. But read everything. You will find inspiration wherever someone is doing something that connects something that you want to do, and that can that's just the spark that you need to continue doing what you're doing and grow in what it is. In terms of what do I do in my life outside of work that is most inspiring, something that developed, I ended up I got involved in 2 podcast projects. Actually, they're like 3 now, but they're 2 projects. One, I am a gaming enthusiast in terms of traditional games and how to use them. And I saw a lot of gamification principles and application. So I connected with some gamers, young people who play games. They're in their 20s. It's a generation that's different to me. And they were interested in how can we use what we've learned in gaming to help the teaching community. So we connected to, and we're called Power of Games, the Power of Games podcast, where we get teachers and gamers together and we talk about the things that you learn. Like, for example, these young people learn such resilient skills of how to deal with toxicity from gaming. And they develop some incredible resilience and how to deal with really negative gaming talk. And they've recognized that. So that there's so many interesting conversations that we can have with them about it. So that's something that I do, the Power of Games podcast. That has led to screen friending for educators, where it's an online experiment where teachers come together every round, dynamic questions are asked. You get to share with another educator from around the world, and you're inspired, you laugh. That's how we met the musical teacher, Mr. Potcover, and he's very dynamic. He actually he won a competition in their country by getting kids to create a musical band, all on the tablet, using tablet instruments. They played the guitar on tablet, one played the piano on tablet, they all played on tablets. And at first they were laughed at, but they kept on doing it, and they eventually won gold in what they were doing by putting together. So it's quite interesting of what is happening. And I have a radio program. It's in Spanish, but it's called Mujeres con Propósito 11, Women of Purpose. And I try to use my ability to share my situation with women around the world.
No food.
Yeah, you can use it. Go ahead.
Okay, that's the assistant of the presenter. That's good.
Yes. So, from using elements like what you see behind me, where it represents some of the elements that I have that's like for certain classes, to the one that's warm, like when I have my one-to-one. So there are elements like this where you don't want distractions because you want the people to talk, but it's just there in the background. You want them to walk away with remembering your logo. You want them to remember. I mean, what's the purpose? If it's going to be a brand you will use in your classroom, or if it will be a brand that you will eventually monetize and you will eventually use for different things, there's no place where this cannot be another level of evolution for us as educators, where for the first time, we'll definitely be able to be recognized for the extra skills that we develop during our teaching profession. And there are marketplaces like Fiverr where you can say, I create content. You can create content for other people who are blogging if you're a great writer. Perhaps you didn't get a chance to be an author in other things, but you're writing so much content. You have extra stories, you have things, you can sell them. People need content there's so many different things that we can fill spaces. And while we're learning to do those things, that's another way that I keep learning and growing, by looking for new challenges for myself. It challenges me to do something different. So if there are any more questions.
Yeah, there is one more. I think Luis Vidal is asking, what are the issues to take into account from a typical adult class to a core class in order to keep our brand?
Integrity. Adults in the corporate environment have worked very hard to get where they are. Their egos are very fragile. It's very fragile. These are individuals who have struggled to be at the top of their game. You have to be discreet with their information, and they have to trust you that whatever you talk about, you're not going to go and share. I sign a disclosure agreement with my clients. I volunteered to do that with them, and their stories, they're all anonymous individuals if I have to share an element or something, but they know me for my discretion with them. They can feel comfortable to share, because learning cannot take place if they're behind a wall and I'm behind a wall and they can't share. They need to feel comfortable that whatever is shared in our safe space stays in our safe space. I had a new client tell me just recently, I'm a very high achiever, but you make me feel comfortable that I can say that this makes learning English makes me feel stupid. Things like that. It's as simple as that. Adults, for me, they're just big children. They need the reassurance, they need the love, they need to know that it's okay to make a mistake. And English for them is high stakes. It means greater salary, it means taking care of their family, it means earning their income. So I can't afford to mess up. So anything going into corporate, the risks and the standards, you need to create that safe space. And for me, integrity with your clients is the most valued asset that you can give them, and they will come back. They will look for you.
Thank you very much, Suzanne. Beautiful words and very passionate presentation as well. And thank everybody for all the questions. But before you go and we thank more formally our presenter, I would like to share with you this information. And I will share very quickly my screen. I would like you to know that, the next TESOL International Convention is coming soon. All right, it is called Inspiring Innovation, Empowering ELT Professionals. It will be in Pittsburgh, okay, next year on March 22 and 20, from March 22 to 25. And during those days, I mean, this is going to be a hybrid convention. So some people are going to be face-to-face and some others are going to be online as our village, as our electronic village. So in here, I am, let me see where I am now. Here in the chat, can you see the chat? In the chat, we have the information for the electronic village. The TESOL COLA-YES Electronic Village call for proposals is now available for everybody. So if you would like to share any topic about how you are using technology in the language classroom, so I mean, this is time for you to I mean, to share with the rest of the world your work. And in here, you have learned about options for presenting during these open access. And here you have the link to our page, okay, to the call for proposals of TESOL COLA-YES Electronic Village. So we invite all of you to come and share with us before that day. And okay, our boss is here and she's sharing also some information. She says, please submit your proposals for the electronic village. It's free to present. Yes, very good. And to attend. So that's very important. So you don't need to pay anything. You can present. It is free and you can attend also the TESOL COLA-YES Electronic Village, which is very important for all of us. This is a little bit of professional development that is free. Imagine at TESOL International Convention. And what else? Yes, I wanted to show you, I wanted to share with you also the link for our, where you can find the information. I mean, this presentation will be available from Monday on the link that I'm sharing with you. So you can, you know, see Suzanne's presentation, you know, the slides and what she answered to all of you from Monday on our channel, on our YouTube channel. So thank you very much, Suzanne. I mean, I've seen, I mean, the passion you have for this topic. I mean, it seems that, I mean, we could also, we could see the love you have for, I mean, for teaching, for using technology in the language classroom, for sharing this. So our community also grows as you are growing, and that is beautiful. So thank you very much to all those who have attended the presentation, and I hope you can share, you know, your thoughts with other colleagues and to let them know about this beautiful presentation that we have had today. So thank you very much. Everybody's saying goodbye, goodbye. Thank you for
very
being
much
here.
to everyone. Thank you. It was awesome.
Yeah, it has been an honor and a pleasure for us to have you here, Suzanne. Thank you very much. You are our first presenter for this webinar series, and we are very happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Hey, shout out to Ingrid. Hi in Bolivia.